So today I'm going to tell you about the 6 best books for self-improvement. I got them all in front of me right here, and I'm going to go through them one by one, a little bit of an overview of each books and why they are important to you. Now, first up, we got Atomic Habits. This book, a lot of you probably know this book. So, this is basically about habits, as the title suggests, and it goes over a lot of methods. These methods are really good. It's a very important book. But the reason why it's so low on the list is because I think it's kind of just like very simple. It's a little simple, and it focuses on one thing. If you're starting out self-improvement, this book will be better for you. And by the way, I'm going to be going through these in order. Right now I'm starting at 6. Last one is going to be 1. But you don't skip throughout the video, because each one of these is important to what stage of like self-improvement you're at, if that makes sense. So like, just as you're not going to become the multi-millionaire who has like 6 girlfriends from the dude who's sitting on his couch eating McDonald's french fries in one day, you're not going to get the value of the first highest book until you read like the lower books. So, as I was saying, Atomic Habits is a good book, but it's kind of just about a basic topic. So, while a lot of the things mentioned here, such as habit grouping, that was one of the main ones, that was really helpful to my routine. Because, for example, if I'm trying to think of a good example here. So, if I'm sitting at the dinner table and there's let's say my fridge is right next to me, and that contains all like the sodas. That's right next to me. Then I'm more inclined to grab the sodas instead of drink water when I'm eating dinner, if that makes sense. It's like some of those examples they give you, and that's why it's kind of low on the list. Now, next up, we got the book that started it all for me. This book is extremely good. Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. If you look at like the biggest self-improvement influencers, the biggest people in the game, they're all going to tell you that this book is pretty much what started their journey. David Goggins is, trying to think of a word to describe him. Well, he's a beast, and he's a beacon of inspiration for us all. He's obviously like, you got a normal person who does like some running in their everyday life, eats some junk food on the weekends. You got the absolute obese couch potato, and then you got David Goggins all the way at the end. He's the one doing it all every single day, no days off. He is what you look at when you're that couch potato and say, man, I want to get like him. This book is the first book, I believe, that I read on self-improvement. First book besides another one up in this list. I don't want to spoil it yet. But this book goes over discipline, motivation, and how to block out haters. Especially his usage of haters' energy. I love that. I implement that into my everyday life. Basically, what he says is you take the energy from your haters to think that there's people taking their energy just to hate on me, and use that and put that into your everyday things. Maybe when you hit the gym, use that to hit a new PR, stuff like that. He goes over how to do this in his books. And I also read Never Finished, which is his second book. That one's good, but you should definitely read Can't Hurt Me before you read that. It's like kind of like a sequel to Can't Hurt Me. Next up, we got How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book, a lot of people say they read it in their 20s. A lot of people say that. So for you to be even reading this book this early is a big thing. I read this when I was 13. I read this when I was 13. And I'm not gonna lie, back then I was like antisocial as hell. I had maybe 2 friends and did not go to any parties, none of that. This book basically goes over how to become better at social situations. It has a bunch of like these principles. I'm gonna try to find one. Let's see. It has it as chapters. For example, when nothing else works, try this, and it tells you a story. And then by the end of it, it tells you a principle. The principle of this I'm looking at right now, it's how to be a leader. Talk about your own mistakes before criticizing the other person. Like, this book is extremely powerful. You will genuinely, it's not even like a clickbait, like, oh, top 10 ways to get new friends. Literally, by the you'll have more friends after reading this book from before you started reading this book. Literally, you'll become better at social interactions. It'll flow so much more smoothly. People will view you as a better person. You'll become a better person. And overall, this book is just extremely good. It is one of the bases of self-improvement. If you're on self-improvement, you have to read this book. There's no buts. You have to read this book. And it's at 4 because my top 3 are kind of books that will help you in the future. These books will also help you in the future massively. How to Win Friends and Influence People. It'll help you in the future massively, but it's kind of not honed in on one topic. It's kind of just social interaction as a whole. These top 3 books now, top 3 books now, these will hone in on a couple principles of your life and combine to just make it extremely good. So it could be argued that this is in top 3. This list is kind of just like in the stages of self-improvement, I would say, rather than their importance, because their importance matters to you in what position you are. For example, I have it on my shelf. I don't have it in front of me right now, but Can't Hurt Me is pretty similar to How to Stop Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. I believe that's the title of the book. It's the orange one. I have that on my shelf. Those two are pretty similar, but one might be more important to the other depending on where you are in life. Depending on who you are, if that makes sense. Next up, we have Deep Work by Cal Newport. This is a very, very important book. This book hones in on a topic that many people don't even know about. Like, if you haven't heard about the term deep work, I don't blame you, because it's a holy grail almost. Like, it's this very secret book, secret tactic that the top 1% of people use. Mark Zuckerberg uses this, Bill Gates uses this, and he gives these examples inside the book of who uses this. I believe this book is from 2016, so it's a pretty recent book. Like, the last book I went over, How to Win Friends and Influence People, it was written in like the the mid 1950s or so. I believe it's a pretty old book. It has been refreshed for newer ages, but I don't believe they really hit the same. But Deep Work is a new book, so you reference stuff like Twitter, stuff like that. And Deep Work is basically like locking in, if how to put it in terms of new terms. You know, when you have an essay due at like 11:59 and it's like 11 o'clock right then, you go into what is referred to as flow state. Like, it almost feels effortless. You're just gliding along. You're just typing. And before you know it, you've written a whole essay. That's mostly based on motivation, but that motivation propels you into what is called flow state. Deep work is basically being in flow state for hours at a time. It's how Facebook was born. Deep work. Deep work is how Facebook was born. Deep work is how Microsoft was formed. All these big companies, the great idea inspired was from deep work. And the reason why deep work isn't very talked about is because the more we go into more technological age, like, people expect you to check your inbox like every single second. When you don't reply to an email, they're like, yo, what the heck? You're supposed to respond to that email. When you're responding out to emails every single second, when you're typing, oh, I should probably check my email, checks the email, that breaks your focus. So you can't enter deep work if you keep, oh, checking my email. You can't do that. Deep work requires no outside stuff. Phone on do not disturb, even off. Turn your phone off. Phone off, door locked. You've already ate. Tell your parents, tell your family to not come in your room. Don't do anything. It's even better if you're in a cabin out in the woods, away from everyone. And you have a goal. You have this blank paper. My goal is to write a 6-page essay on blank. And by the end of that deep work session, you're going to have that 6-page essay done. But deep work is better used. Like, obviously, you can use it to complete, like, assignments, let's say. It's better used to create new ideas. It's almost like brainstorming while working. It's very, very powerful. I don't want to expose too much because, honestly, Cal Newport does it better in this book. But deep work, you're going to get your assignments done better. You're going to become a better worker. It's going to help you work towards your purpose. And honestly, so much more. I really love this book. I read it recently, a couple months ago, like early this year. And my work has just skyrocketed. Next up, top 2. We got Dopamine Nation. I speak about this book so much. Like, it's almost a joke at this point. I speak about this book so much because I just love it. It's, first of all, it's very recent. I don't know the exact year, but basically, I believe it's a little bit newer than Deep Work, maybe 2018, around there. It's pretty new. It's by Dr. Anna Lembke. I think I murdered that. I'm sorry, but this is like what the cover looks like. A lot of you have heard about dopamine. It's the happiness hormone, and what she explains here is all these things, video games, music, all those stuff, like scrolling on TikTok, they all give you dopamine. But the thing about dopamine is your brain always wants to remain, like, think of it as seesaw. And once it's tipped over to one side, you pile on all these stuff, like video games, all that stuff, junk food, all this. Now it's at this side. Now, the result is you feel super, super happy. But your brain, it wants it to be like this. So, right after, let's say you ate a huge amount of junk food, it piles off the other side and makes you feel bad. Like, oh snap, I just cheated on my diet. I feel like trash now, man. What did I do? It piles like this, counterweight, to bring it back to this. And the more, let's say, you scroll TikTok, the longer you have to scroll for that dosage to be the same, to reach this tipping point. You can't watch 10 minutes of TikTok one day for like every single day for a week. And by the end of that week, that 10 minutes will probably not be as entertaining to you as it was at the beginning of the week. So dopamine is this hormone that these companies like Instagram, TikTok, they exploit to their absolute best. Games even, they keep you wanting to play more and more and more. Grind out, GTA, grind out more. And it's honestly such an important hormone in our new generation. And by reading this book, it's ranked so highly because generally not enough people know about this. So many people are, like, I literally know people who have 10, 12 hours a day of screen time. That is absolutely absurd. Like, it's just crazy how much people are on their phones, on social media, on video games. It's crazy how much they're on that. And it's crazy how much dopamine we consume in this day and age. Now, number 1, this book is no joke. Read as your own purpose. Read at your own caution. But this book, it is the book. That's honestly how I'm going to say it. It's the book, and I can honestly visualize myself reading this at like 30, 40, 50. This is a really, really good book that it doesn't hone in on one topic, but it hones in on a much broader topic, and it somehow does so specifically. The topic about this, the way of the superior man, the absolute most important book of self-improvement, I would say. You have to read the others, I would say, to get up to this, because this is it's a lot to take in. It's nothing here is about like your everyday life. It's not like, here's why you have to start running every single day. No. It's, here's why you should find your purpose right now. It's about your future. It's about manlyhood as a whole. Now, women can read this too, because it has a lot about polarity, like the feminine and masculine, like, and how they work together. This book will make you a man. I don't say that lightly. This book will make you a man. It talks about all the topics that, everyone's scared to talk about. All of them. Every single one. I literally have this by my bedside. Like, I keep it right there. And I read it. Like, maybe a chapter, 2 chapters. Because each chapter is, like, divided into a couple pages. Maybe 5 pages max is the longest chapter. But I'm going to try to find one. Let's see. Lean just beyond your edge. That's one of the chapters. Another one, enjoy your friend's criticism. These are very, very important principles. One of my favorite ones is own your darkest desires. So, like, when you're learning about Genghis Khan in history class, maybe you've suppressed it. Maybe you've ignored it. But the truth is, when you hear about Genghis Khan, you hear about his greatness, you're like, man, I want to be like that. I want to own a vast kingdom. I want to do all the stuff he did. Let's be real here. Maybe for a split second you thought like that. And that's one of your dark desires. And you have to own them. You can't just, brush it off, cover it, like, throw it in that dirty closet and close the door. No, you have to own that shit. And this book is by like a older dude, David Deida. I would guess, I'm sorry if this is a little old, maybe 50s. So he's been through life. He's been through life. He's been through many partners, all that stuff. He knows. And I don't know about you, but old wise men, it seems kind of stereotypical almost, are the best, actually, source of information for stuff like this. Like, obviously, like, best tricep workouts. Yeah, maybe, like, a younger dude would be better for that, because stuff like that is always changing. But for bigger stuff like this, like, how to live life, an older dude has got you with that stuff. And in this book, it's, like, 20 years old, I believe. And it shows you how to be a man. And I would say this is the best book of self-improvement. Now, obviously, I have many, many more books to read. Like, for example, the 48 Laws of Power. That's a really old one. But, for example, I didn't put that one on this list. Like, my list might always be changing. But right now, you hear it from me right here, right now, that these are my top 6 books. And it can always change, as I said, because honestly, there's not enough books for me to just read. There's too many books. I have to keep on reading. I have many, many books that I still have to read. And as a result, maybe when I'm 20, I'll think maybe, Can't Hurt Me is a better book. Who knows? But if you're on self-improvement, these are the 6 books I think will make you a man. Will make you better at self-improvement. Will make your life better. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more stuff like this, like, you know, just comment down below. If you think, oh, Dopamine Nation should be #1, like stuff like that, just comment down below. I'll respond to your stuff. And after that, I'm out. I'll see you guys later. Peace.